Welcome to Wednesday's Words of Wisdom from the farm. And it's been quite a week on the farm. It's unbelievable to hear how one place can get hit and another place can get missed. You know, there's been a bunch of tornado sightings here in Ontario, and I saw a newscast interviewing a person, and they're standing there in the rubble of their house, and there the house next to them isn't even a shingle off. It's incredible how a storm or something traumatic can hit someone, and then the person right next door, nothing happened. You know, there was a big rain. We got a perfect 1.1 inches of rain. The crops look incredible. But then I heard reports of down Mitchell's Bay and down south of here of them getting hammered of 12 plus inches of rain. I've never heard of that before. But then someone sent me a video of a boat, a motorboat, in his corn about this tall, going up and down the rows in a motorboat. Unbelievable how it can hit one place and miss. Well, speaking of which, this right here, this barn is over 142 years old, and it stood the test of time. In fact, there was a factory that made this red brick, and it was the foundation of this barn. So where is the red brick? Well, there's the red brick right there. But this is all cement, because way back before my time, a tornado came through and it hit this corner of the barn and shook the very foundation. In fact, they ran out to the barn afterwards and they said the barn was actually teetering. And they decided to save the old girl, and they poured all this cement and saved it. And it's a 3-story barn, 50 feet tall, and stood the test of time. I don't understand why that tornado hit right here and missed the person next. But I do know this, that bad things and traumatic things hit us. And the Bible says in Romans 8:28, God works all things together for good to those who love him. But I'll be honest, like I shared last week with my best friend going through cancer, I don't see the good. And you know, in John 9 verses 1, it's a story about this blind man, and he was blind from birth. And Jesus comes up with his disciples, and this blind man from birth, the disciples say to Jesus, who in his family sinned? Someone sinned that he was blind from birth. And Jesus has a very interesting take on it. He says, no, this was all for my glory. He was blind from birth so that right now people can see my goodness and me touch his life and heal him. There could be years past when we don't understand why a certain situation happened, but good can come from it. I don't see it sometimes. This barn, we had a terrific fire, and the fire department pulled out all this burning hay. My dad and I the next day were trucking the burnt hay to dump in a far gully back at the pasture. We drove by my neighbor's place on Mandamin. We both waved. We just got in the yard and started loading up again, and we heard bang. Kind of like the bang we heard down last night where lightning had hit an oil tanker down at the corner and blew the oil tanker right out of the ground. No explanation. But we heard this explosion. We looked and we saw smoke. And by the time we got over there, Dad and I jumped on the four-wheeler, got it going, and got over there. A person ran out and stopped us. And they said, you can't go in here. There's been a terrific explosion. See, the neighbor that we had just waved to just minutes before went down in his basement to stir up the coals in his stove, and propane, the line had severed and propane had filled in the basement, and the house blew up. A very near and dear friend. I used to go there all the time to throw darts, to play ping pong, and to shoot pool. He'd let me have 3 shots to his 1. And I struggled with that. People say, oh, it was best that a couple that loved each other went together. I don't try to explain or justify, but all I do is trust that Romans 8:28 says, all things work together for good for those who love God. And it might be a long period of time before we see it, and we might not even see it at all. but he's working good. And that's been Wednesday's Words of Wisdom from the farm. Take care. God bless.